Today we're going to talk about our Amtech Analytics product, Ava, and talk about the Visual Analytics, which is our Visual Analytics, which is our cloud-based intelligence tool that allows us to connect to various data sources to generate visualization, dashboards, reporting, and allow us to track trends and integrate it with some real-time components as well as with the Imaginera systems such as RPM, mobile force delivery, and ultimately give you a tool set that allows you to reduce reports and spreadsheets that you're generating offline. In addition to that, it's a vast data warehouse where we're collecting multiple data sets, coming into one consolidated data warehouse. We're taking feeds from secondary systems such as workflow systems, CAD systems, scheduling systems, all kind of getting integrated into that data warehouse. So Visual Analytics, or AVA, it's powered obviously by Amtech's data warehouse. It's integrated, as I mentioned, with multiple data sources. It's a large data repository. So again, we're capturing lots of different data elements out of, let's say, your core business systems, as well as those secondary systems that you may have connected to the systems, such as the scheduling and the CAD systems. It's a secure environment, so you've got role-based security available to you there, and allows you to narrow down data sets to certain types of users and present various graphs and reports based upon those roles. And flexible, endless possibilities for creating custom dashboards. So as a part of this tool set, Ava, you have the ability to customize dashboards, create your own, create customized reports, and push data out to end users as needed. Also, as we're going through the presentation today, at any point, if you have any questions, please put them to the panel, and we'll answer them at the end of the seminar. The user interface, you've got a tiled interface that can be configured by user. It could be a mobile application, such as an iPad, or have reporting and dashboarding created for an iPhone or an iPad. As I mentioned, role-based security, highly configurable, giving you reporting and scheduling distribution. It's a web-enabled product as well, so you can have access to it anywhere that you have connectivity to the internet. As I mentioned, so the configurable dashboards that we're going to touch base on today are going to be wrapped around sales, production, finance, and logistics. From a sales side, just giving you an example of what we're tracking out there, we've got a customer risk analysis, for example, which allows us to do trends on sales, contribution, square footage, create a watch list, for example, of customers where we may have an excessive number of complaints or short shipments. Again, just a way to be able to spot trends within your account base and put a little focus on, in this example here, customers that may be in a potential risk situation with you. We're also doing things like quote hits and sales rep performance reporting on the CAN dashboards as well. There's also a production flavor of data being pushed out there, so give us a quick snapshot as to what's happening with the plant. So for companies that are, for example, with a corrugator, we're going to be tracking roll stock, corrugator production, things of that nature are getting pushed out from scheduling and production reporting. But then also on the converting side, doing downtime downtime analysis and utilization analysis of the converting machines. We've got detailed waste being pushed out to the data warehouse as well, so we can do deep dives on waste analysis, maybe by machine center, department, or by a crew. Give you a nice visual on speeds and efficiencies, and then ultimately doing an estimated versus actual from a machine performance perspective as well. So you've got a very nice tool set to manage on the production side. Finance and executive dashboards are getting created, so we can do some proactive credit management, looking at aging, overall exposure, average days to pay, for example, on a particular account. Looking at profit and loss trends from the financials are getting pushed up, which obviously incorporates some financial ratios, and then ultimately do a job cost analysis by plant and by product type. So the idea there is for that finance executive or ownership to just get a quick snapshot as to what's happening with the business. And then tied into logistics as well. So for those that are using mobile force delivery, we're tied into your fleet of trucks. being able to see where the trucks are at and what orders and when they're estimated for arrival. So we're tracking real time the truck locations, and then also giving you on-time deliveries, shipments, and short shipment tracker as well. So quick bird's view of that. At this point, we're going to flip over. We're going to go into the application, and everybody's going to get, obviously, there's full security there. So based upon the username and credentials, we're going to control what access they have and various reporting that's available to the individual users. You've got a tiled user interface. So working with my home page, for example, it gives you a nice flexible interface for you to be able to go ahead and drag, if you needed to, various dashboards and reports to the home screen to be able to customize your launch points there. So that could be a report, could be a dashboard, various levels of reporting as well. Give you an example of an executive real-time dashboard there. It's going to launch out, and it's a web-based application I mentioned. They're giving me a quick snapshot as to what's happening in the plant. So from an executive perspective, I can quickly see, for example, what's happening with trucks, what's currently out there being delivered. As I highlight trucks, for example, we've got estimated times of arrival, utilization of the trailer, the truck number, square footage on the particular truck, and then also what are the individual stops that are getting shipped out. So at any given point now, as a shipping supervisor and executive, I can see where the trucks are at. We're also mapping those out into the world as well, out of Google Maps, and understanding what's the driver, where they at, estimated times of arrival, things of that nature on each of the stops. So again, this is tied into mobile force delivery as you're getting in real-time updates. Some of the other things that you may capture on the real-time monitor, if you're running RPM and we're tied into the machine centers, is getting back what's happening on the plant floor right now. So we're looking at pieces fed per hour, set up, average pieces, and sheets produced in real time. So as your RPM is connected to the machines, we're pushing data out to the data warehouse and taking those feeds and giving you a very quick snapshot as to what's happening into the plant. Some of the things, some new components that got introduced to Imaginera as a result of AVA, or the analytics module. We're keeping track of different types of machines. So now we're looking at, for example, primary machines and understanding what statuses are, and then be able to do analytics on various machine types. So in this case here, we can see what's happening with the particular primary machines, also giving me a daily snapshot as to what's happening with orders. In this case here, I'm looking at dollars. You know, you have different metrics that you can use on each of these dashboards that are built right in. So if I didn't want to look at dollars and maybe wanted to look at ordered MSF that's coming through the door, it gives you a nice quick way to go ahead and vary those metrics. And then also for various time zones. So here we can export it out the graphs as well to a PDF or to a image if need be. So that's just a quick example of a real-time monitor. I'm going to work from the top and kind of walk through some of these dashboards that were created. So a good example would be the customer risk analysis, which I would be putting on a general manager or a president's desk and giving them a quick snapshot across the client base as to what's going on. So starting in that upper right-hand corner, for example, let me get a quick understanding of all the orders that might be sitting in-house that are currently on hold for various reasons. So maybe they might be on hold for credit or overdue exposure. Just as an executive, I might want to get a sense of what's happening there and then be able to dive down into that and get an understanding of who the customers are and what's the dollar amount of orders that are sitting out there on hold, and maybe be able to influence some of the customer service groups to kind of getting some of these things cleaned up. So you've got an overall on hold analysis that you're looking at from a customer risk perspective. We're also looking at a customer exposure. So giving the executive a quick snapshot as to open AR, open orders, inventory, calculating exposure, credit limit, and then where we're at over that particular credit limit, and being able to see that by account. And then also, sorting it by exposure and understanding, hey, which of our accounts out there that we got the most exposure with. And again, as an executive or an owner, I may want to step in and influence some of that conversation. Lower quadrant here, we're looking at number of complaints by customer. So you've got complaints by customer with drill down capabilities through the dashboards to understand what type of complaints are coming through. So in this case here is defective product, customer payments, looking at average days over terms and average days to pay, and be able to see how we're trending out with our customers on a particular account, and then who's past terms right now within our client base. Another quick snapshot might be short shipments. So I want to get an understanding of which accounts, and you can resize the grids as needed. I wanted to get an understanding of by account, who are we short shipping in the current month, or number of short shipments, current month, last 3 months, 6 months within that account, and then be able to have some influence on what's happening in terms of the shipping process to that customer. And then also giving me a snapshot on on-time deliveries. So are we trending for better or for worse within each of the accounts? So where am I at the current month, previous month, year to date, and overall number of deliveries and deliveries made on time. So, and this can be set and established for various periods. So you're setting up various parameters that you want to be able to look at in terms of the analysis. It's a customer risk that we may publish out to one of your users. An executive dashboard. Give that a sec. Executive dashboard there is going to bring up, various parts of the business. So I want to be able to look at this potentially across in a multi-plant environment. I want to look at this maybe across all plants and get an understanding of what's happening with my bookings, orders booked, square footage, dollars booked, overall contributions. And let me get a sense of what's happening with sales as well. And then drilling down by sales rep, and you've got nice filter options within the rep to get a sense of, hey, what's that particular rep doing in terms of sales, and how are they trending within their client base? So some real nice quick analysis that you can establish here for the executive. For those of you that may have multiple databases, for example, we're rolling all this data up from multiple databases. So it could be a single multi-plant database and do the analysis across the enterprise, or you can filter it out on an individual database and then just do the analysis on the reps and the customers in this example for that one location. And that's part of the configuration and the creation of all of these dashboards. So looking here at the executive again, we got backlog and sales trends. Maybe we're looking at corrugator metrics. We're getting fed up to us coming from the corrugator. For those that have corrugators out there, getting square footage, lineal footage, and run hours coming through. And then ultimately our converting equipment. What's happening out there from the converting equipment perspective on a square footage, pieces per hour, how much downtime, runtime, and we're looking at that now by machine department. So going forward, now you're going to be able to categorize all of your machines, group those into various departments, and then do analytics at the department level, and then all the way down to the individual machine level as well. So if you want to get a sense of what's happening with one piece of equipment, or get a sense of what's happening with all of your rotary die cutters across one plant or all plants, you've got that flexibility in the dashboarding. In this case here, I'm presenting out AR aging as well. Give them a sense of what's sitting over 120 and who are the accounts that are falling into that 120 category, and then calculating a machine availability and utilization. So this dashboard's kind of drawing on various parts of the business, right? We're touching on corrugator, we're touching on sales, we're touching on order bookings, and on the converting side as well. So the idea there is to publish this again to that executive so they get a bird's eye view, a snapshot as to what's going on. In this case here, we've got machine availability and utilization. So we're able to take a look and see what's been used compared to what we've budgeted for. So in part of building this data warehouse, you'll be establishing machine hours or goals for your piece of equipment so that we can compare what's actually being used to what were the budgeted hours. Same thing on sales reps. We're dropping in budgets that are coming up by customer, by period for a particular sales rep to understand where they're at within their budgets. So we got a customer risk, executive, maybe an executive converting that we want to publish out. And that'll give you a similar view to the executive, wrapped around more around converting. And again, by plant, bookings, sales trends, machine availability. So all my flexible folder gluers, what's my utilization, hours used within that group as well. And then drill down to the individual machines, And then ultimately, what's the shift status look like? Available hours versus used hours within a particular shift. So you can do a deep drill down on the individual graphing components as well. All right, so that's an executive converting dashboard that you may present out. And we've covered the real time already as the first one. So as you're going through this, we're creating different groupings of reporting or dashboarding, right? You can create a group for the executive, a group for production, maybe a group of dashboards for customer service, for pricing. That's all user definable as part of the installation. Going down into production, again, we might want to look at a multi-plant or a single plant operation. And that'll give us back converting information, corrugator information, and what's happening within the individual plants. So I can see here, based upon priority, primary, secondary, tertiary equipment, we looked at all of our primary machines. How are we trending? We can see our square footage is trending down across the die cutters, but our throughput is increasing. Run hours have increased, downtime and all standard and on-standard downtime is increasing. My overall utilization and efficiency for that particular piece of equipment. For that department rather. So in this case here, we're looking at a department and all of my primary pieces of equipment within that department. So machine utilization, run efficiencies, setup efficiencies, overall efficiencies of the equipment for a date range. And what's nice is you've got these sliders down below here that gives you the ability to control the time frames that you want to look at, and it'll go and recrunch the numbers based upon the new period and repaint, obviously, the dashboard, the reporting on that new time period. So we're looking at machine efficiencies we're capturing, downtime analysis, what's on standard or off standard, and then drilling down within that as well and getting a sense of what's happening on a weekly basis. And then within the week, which machines, in this case here, all my primary machines are their utilization. Then we've got waste factors that we're tracking through, right? Waste per MSF on a period basis, drilling down into a weekly basis, and ultimately understanding what type of waste is coming through. So this would be a good example of a dashboard that you may present out to the shop floor. Maybe it's a supervisor that you want to give access to the daily stats. This would be something you would publish out there. And here's a waste metrics in quantity-based waste as well. So very similar. And then where are we at with our machine speeds? So we understand, for example, we got an estimated machine speed. Where are we going with our primaries? And we drill back up on that and get a sense of what's happening with our primary machines. Right? And then as you, through the card system up above, as you highlight cards, it'll repaint all the screens for that particular department. So you've got a nice quick way to go ahead and repaint the production screen looking at a particular group of pieces of equipment. And that's going to go ahead and recalculate for everything that's presented. And then when you're looking at this, we build in metrics there. So we want to look at, for example, MSF produced, pieces per hour, based things on run hours. We can go ahead and look at their trending on either one of those variables. So you've got converting production. You've got multi-plant. If you're into the corrugator world, we've tied into the corrugator. We're bringing up roll stock, trim waste, average roll width, last 7 days within that account, first, second shifts, MSF produced off of that particular corrugator, lineal feet per minute, so some overall corrugator statistics, trim waste, corrugator usage over the past 7 days for those that have corrugators within one plant or across multiple plants. Then also the converting we covered. So we got the production side. Now you've got some sales information that you want to drill down onto as well. Maybe a product mix. A very sales-focused dashboard that you may give to a rep, a sales manager, getting an understanding of what my sales are, square footage, tonnage. Again, that slider for the date range to be able to look at a particular period in time. And then also by product lines. So we've introduced product types or product lines now to the Imaginera system so that you can categorize the types of sales that you have beyond product codes or product groups. So the example there, the obvious one there is going to be the farm outs. Today, a lot of you may create product codes to track that. Now we're going to tag that as an item type and be able to isolate all of the farm out sales from a manufacturing box sale or a sheet sale, and be able to see backlog dollars for each. So what do we got going on in farm out versus backlogs? We've got product revenue analysis in this particular case here of everything that's coming in for that period. What's the sales contribution and budgets for farm outs, freight, manufactured boxes and sheets? And then within that, what's happening within the manufactured sales. And then square footage versus budget, and then category trends here. So we understand what's happening with our business. We can see for farm outs, for example, how are we trending on farm outs over the last, current third 6 months in a year? How are we trending out on farm out business versus manufactured boxes? And then drilling down into the manufactured group, and then ultimately down to your product code level, what's happening with, the various types of sales that we've got into that group, and how are we trending out. All of this can also be done by product mix, but also then within a particular sales rep, give me that same look on one rep and let me understand how they're doing, across the sales space there. So that's going to be a product mix analysis, maybe a sales performance. That's going to be sales rep focused, letting us understand what's happening within a given rep. So we got a quick snapshot across the top here with these cards, letting us know how each of the reps are trending out across all of their customers. And as you highlight reps, we're repainting the graphic and understanding now within Carla's client base, what's happening with her sales budgets and budgeted square footage, sales contribution, how far above goal, and MSF above goal, and then quote hits and misses within the account, getting understanding of those quotes. When are they coming through? What type of quotes are they coming through? And what's the overall product mix that's coming through in terms of hits versus misses? And again, through a slider here, being able to keep track of a different time period. So that would be an example of a sales performance that you may present out to a sales manager. Sales analysis. Excuse me. Sales analysis across the plant. Similar look and feel of data. In this case here, across the top, we might be looking at individual reps. That could easily be plants as well. Within the rep, what's been invoiced on a daily basis, square footage, bookings, backlog, dollars and square footage, and then ultimately what's happening within the individual sales reps, right? For that customer, what's happening with that customer, sales this year versus last, what the gain is within that account. So who's my top set of customers working their way up in terms of trending up? Who are my customers trending down within those accounts as well? So again, just letting me see the highs and the lows of the client base. And then overall customer trend, where are they at currently in the 3-month, 6-month trend on sales dollars and contribution. And then within that customer, being able to see the various product types that we're selling them, all the way down to the product code level on that account. Excuse me. And then looking at revenue, cost, and contribution within our client base as well on a particular sales rep. So drilling down there as well. Again, looking at sales dollars, tons, square footage, and contributions could be the metrics that we're going to be analyzing the cards with. So that's being an example of a sales performance, sales analysis, single plant. There's built-in reporting as well. For those that are out there, they're doing a lot of crystal reports or doing SQL reporting. You can embed that into the Ava product as well and allow users to have access to certain SQL reports that you've created, whether it be Crystal or SQL reporting services. And then they have a home page to be able to launch those and publish those as needed through the user community that you have. So you've got built-in reporting as well, and that reporting can be scheduled and automatically distributed out to end users as a PDF so that they can receive it every morning at 6 a.m. We can fire off that SQL report and have that published to the end user as needed. Some of the other things just wanted to touch base on is some of the admin that's available to you there. So as I mentioned, we're going to be setting up different types of user groups Each user is going to obviously establish an account, allow us to create categories, and those categories you're going to define, with sales, production, executive, and then be able to publish security at the group level to say they have access to, for example, sales reports. So again, this is all part of the configuration process. And built into the tool as well is a dashboard editing tool so that you could edit existing dashboards or create your own dashboard. So in addition to what we're shipping, there's a full editing tool that allows you to create, adjust new dashboards that are out there. In this case here, we've got a sales trend report here that we're working with, and we can, if I open up another one I've got out there, if I look at a sales demo report, here's an example of a blank slate, and I'm connected to our data warehouse looking at a sales summary table that ultimately is connected to my customer, my plant, and got posting periods and sales reps, and it's a real nice simple drag and drop environment. So for example, if I wanted to take a look at sales dollars, so we might want to go ahead and grab a card, and that card look, we want to go and take a peek at sales dollars, maybe compared to a sales budget, and then narrow that down and look at that for a particular sales rep. So that quickly we're able to generate the card mechanism here that shows us by rep what their sales compared to budget was for each one of those accounts. And then ultimately be able to throw in a, maybe another one might be a pie chart that you want to create. Might drag that into there as well. There's it. Delete that. And drop in a pie chart and build out that page. Right there. There we go. Build out that pie chart, and there I might want to look at customer and look at sales dollars on that chart as well. So being able and looking at that by budget. So now we've built essentially a dashboard that's got two components built into it. One's going to be driven by sales rep. The other one's going to be driven by customer. And understanding, being able to create a relationship as well between those two charts, and maybe being able to filter them out by sales rep. So you've got a nice tool there to be able to create new dashboards, edit existing dashboards, as well as a report writing tool that's built into the tool set. Okay. So full admin capabilities, like I said, scheduling. The tool set for reporting and dashboarding can be hooked up to the data warehouse, but also be used to report against your Imaginera database as well. So you can connect to multiple data sources with this tool and create reporting and dashboards against your pure Imaginera data set, as well as what we've published up into our data warehouse. With that, I'm going to see if we have any questions that we might want to offer up. So great questions here. How long does it take to set up, and what's the process? So just to talk about an implementation process here, all of the work is done remotely, and it probably takes probably about an overall elapsed time of a week to get it configured. You've got a technical component where we're going to install everything remotely, connected to your Amtech Imaginera database. This is all going to run on a web server that you're going to have set up specifically for the application. We'll connect it to your Imaginera data set, and we'll create the extracts and build the data warehouse. That's the technical piece. Then there's a data piece that we go through where we're creating various departments, budgets, groupings, all that work. We've prepared easy documents for you to fill out and to give us to it as part of a pre-implementation, and that work is all done remote. And once those two components are done, we'll establish the technical training where we're going to educate you on the admin side of creating dashboards, reports, setting up users, and that's a 2-day effort essentially. That's all done remote. And then ultimately, then we'll come on site and train on the data side, all the dashboards, the statistics, and bring up the dashboards utilizing your live data. And that's a 2-day event that's taking place as well. Once all that data has been crunched and we're publishing it through, then we end up doing a 90-day checkup on you as well. so that now you've done the analysis for 90 days. We're going to start spotting trends and then start working towards recommendations. So I think overall elapsed time is about a week's worth of work to get it done, and that may be done over a 2 or 3 week period when it's all said and done. All right. On the another question came up, says, can we easily email the reports with the graphics? The reports can be automatically distributed. Any report that's built within the tool, you're going to create a distribution on that report, and you can create a scheduling mechanism here that would automatically distribute that report out to the end user as an email. So you can set up a subscriber who wants to receive this report, how often do you want to set them up. So you can set up parameters, set up parameters that you would set up on each reports, and then ultimately who are the subscribers to that email distribution. So automatically you get distributed out. In terms of the graphs and the dashboard, they can all be exported to a PDF and emailed out, or exported to a graphic that you can email out as well. Another question is there any training offered to learn how to use it? And as I mentioned, yes, that's all done remote. And the two main components of that will be the dashboards and understanding the data set and recognizing trends and maybe making suggestions on what needs to be adjusted within the business. And then the other half of that would be the technical aspect of managing the reporting tool and managing the dashboard. Another question is coming through, can this be connected to multiple databases, different Amtech versions on the front end for each iteration? I would say yes, but best practice would be to have them all in the same release. I think if we got into a situation where you've got multiple Amtech databases, I think we'd want to probably put them all on the same version. At a minimum, they should be on, I think it's 3.1 SR2. At a minimum, it should be on that particular release. And I think it would be in good practice to get everybody on the same version of software to have consistency. Another question's coming up. If we are not using mobile force delivery or RPM, will it be available to pull data from Imaginera PDE, for example? And the answer is yes. So all of the production data that we're feeding up is going to be coming from it's going to be coming from PDE or production reporting, and then just the executive dashboards where we're using the real-time components, they're the only ones that would be required to have mobile force delivery or RPM in order to be able to get the real-time stat on a particular machine center. But in terms of waste analysis, machine utilization, downtime analysis, all of that will flow up regardless of whether or not you're using RPM or mobile force delivery. Are there any other questions out there? If you think of some after the fact, feel free to email us. Got one more coming through. What's the projected cost? Is it possible to see a demo with our database? Cost is going to vary based upon number of users and number of plants. So we'd have to kind of talk about that offline and understand what it would be. And there may be an opportunity to throw some data in there of a particular facility. So I'll be happy to address the pricing and the data set questions individually. With that, if anybody has any questions, feel free to email myself or Daria, and we'll be able to give you a response. And I'd like to thank you for taking the time today, and look forward to talking to you directly. Again, Darren with Amtech, have a great day.